Part 3. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 21. Stop it! Lin Mubai in the air yelled anxiously the moment the purple thunder dragon struck down. As a bystander, he knew that everything was a misunderstanding. But he didn't expect that the self in this dream would not hesitate to exhaust the righteousness to destroy Zhang Chen's cultivation. At this moment, he wanted to strangle himself to death. For many days and nights, he was looking forward to Zhang Chen's change of heart and the title of senior brother Zhifeng. Although it was in a dream, it was also a dream come true. But who knew that the self in this dream was simply a madman and didn't listen to any explanation from Zhang Chen at all? If Zhang Chen's cultivation was really destroyed, how could he forgive himself? After all this was so real. He wanted to stop it, but he was powerless. He wanted to use his body to stop this thunder dragon that seemed like a punishment from heaven for Zhang Chen. But the thunder dragon went straight through his body and accurately struck Zhang Chen on the forehead. Bang! The next second, a dull sound rang out. Affected by thunder, the surrounding earth collapsed and cracked, the ancient trees spontaneously commusted, and the air was filled with a strong smell of burning. Looking at all this, Lin Mubai in the void was already pale. The senior brother in his dream was destroyed by his own hands. How could he accept this? Mubai, calm down. A familiar voice sounded. The dust and smoke dissipated. I saw Zhang Chen was enveloped by a golden ancient bell. The bell body was full of obscure ancient characters. The vibration sound was like a god whispering in his ear, which made people feel weak in the knees and want to kneel down to worship. The ancient bell suddenly disappeared. Although Zhang Chen's face was slightly pale and his vitality was exhausted, his cultivation was still there. Who? This made Lin Mubai in the void breathe a sigh of relief. After coming back to his senses, he was about to insult himself in the picture, but he was stunned again. I saw myself in the picture, lying on the ground with my hand in a big letter, sleeping soundly. After waking up from the dream, I must quit drinking, he decided. Zhang Chen in the picture was also helpless. After a short rest, he stood up and carried his unconscious second junior brother, and then slowly returned to the sect. But after taking a few steps, Zhang Chen seemed to notice something and suddenly looked at the palm of his right hand. Yulong pill is ruined. What? Hearing this, Lin Mubai in the void had a thunder in his mind. Everything happened too fast just now, and Zhang Chen could only save himself in a hurry. So, it was him who destroyed junior sister Qingning's Yulong spirit grass. Zhang Chen. Qingning trusted you, how could you do this? Qingning is kind and peaceful. When you are questioned and accused by others, she always argues for you. Even if she has been deceived by you many times, she still believes that you are not hopeless. But this time, you really hurt her heart. You know, even at the last moment, before she almost went crazy in cultivation, she still told herself to have faith in you. You will never lie to her. But what is the result? What I got in return was your words. It's gone. How could you do this? How could you do this? In the Zhifeng hall, Xiao Hongai hugged Qingning, who was crying so hard that she couldn't speak, and roared in disbelief. At the beginning, her words were full of anger. But at the end, her voice became lower and lower, and tears also flashed in her beautiful eyes. Master, Zhang Chen in white clothes was hesitant to speak. You. How are you? Feeling that her eldest disciple seemed to have something to hide, Xiao Hongai slowed down her tone. Master also trusts you. If there is a reason for this, just tell me. Master is not arbitrary and will investigate it in detail. But the answer to her was Zhang Chen's silence. Seeing this scene, Lin Mubai in the void was already crying. Last night, because the incident happened suddenly, Zhang Chen instinctively protected himself, but the Yulong pill in his hand was affected by the power of thunder and turned into ashes. For this, Lin Muibai blamed himself for a long time. He thought that when Xiao Hong'ai questioned him today, Zhang Chen would tell the truth. But who would have thought? Maybe he knew that if he told this, he would be punished. Maybe he didn't want to let himself fall into self-blame and affect his mood. Or maybe he knew that it was useless to say it. In the end, no matter how angry Xiao Hong'ai was or how Qingning cried, Zhang Chen never revealed a word. Muibai's righteousness is exhausted. Last night, there were frequent thunders not far from Juyan section. What happened? Xiao Hong'ai asked again. Compared with the previous words, her tone has become obviously colder. Zhang Chen remained silent. Why don't you say something? Xiao Hong'ai was angry. Now you are not even willing to quibble. Make up a reason to deceive me. Disciple, I don't want to say it. In the end, Zhang Chen finally squeezed out a sentence. This sentence exhausted all of Xiao Hong'ai's patience. While gently comforting Qingning, her momentum continued to rise, pressing Zhang Chen to breathe. Seeing that she was about to take action, Lin Muibai in the void was very anxious and immediately knelt down to beg. No. Master, it's not like that. It's all my fault. I jumped to conclusions, I attacked senior brother, and I destroyed the Yulong pill. Senior brother didn't lie, he did that just to protect me. And to prevent junior sister Qingning from hating me. Master. Senior brother is really good. He is no longer the senior brother who enjoys bullying his junior brothers and sisters, but an upright and respected senior brother. Master, if you want to punish me, punish me. No doubt, no one heard his words. Although her expression was struggling, Xiao Hong'ai still said coldly, Zhang Chen. If I don't punish you severely, how can I listen to Qingning calling me master? Today, I will abolish your cultivation. No, before she finished speaking, Qingning in her arms stopped her with a crying voice, Master, spare the senior brother. Seeing that Xiao Hong'ai did not reply, Qingning said again, the senior brother is the master's first disciple. For the sake of a mere Yulong Linko, the master lost a disciple. Zhifeng lost the senior brother. It is not worth it. I am willing to forgive the senior brother. After confirming again and again that she really thought so, Xiao Hong'ai could only close her eyes and sigh. Zhang Chen felt warm in his heart and thanked him, thank you, junior sister. I will definitely find a treasure of the same level to make up for it. The one who answered him was Qingning's cold face. She did forgive Zhang Chen, but she was also extremely disappointed. Soon, Xiao Hong'ai and Qingning left in extreme disappointment. Zhang Chen stood alone in the hall, and his gloomy expression made Lin Muibai in the void feel like a knife in his heart. If all this is true, it is undoubtedly my biggest nightmare. If all this is false, I only hope that this dream can wake up as soon as possible, he murmured. As soon as the voice fell, a young man who was still drunk rushed in and cursed. Zhang Chen. You really stole the Yulong spiritual herb from junior sister Qingning. I knew you were hopeless, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. Don't think that I will be grateful to you just because you didn't complain to master about what happened yesterday. I tell you, I will do the same thing again next time. You are not worthy of being senior brother Zhifeng. Hearing this, Lin Muibai suddenly raised his head and saw his familiar face. His eyes were bloodshot, and his self-blame and guilt rose to the extreme. Like a madman, he rushed towards himself in the picture. I'll kill you. You're a beast. You're hopeless. It's you who destroyed junior sister Qingning's Yulong spiritual herb. It's you who caused junior sister and senior brother to completely break up. It's you who made master sad and senior brother uncomfortable. Lin Muibai, you're such a scourge. Why don't you just die? What sage books did you read? What kind of righteousness did you cultivate? How dare you come here and talk nonsense now? Punch after punch. Although all of them missed, and although they had no effect on himself in the picture, Lin Muibai still refused to stop, and his expression was a little crazy. It seemed that only in this way could he slightly alleviate the self-blame in his heart. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 22. Lin Muibai thought this should be a nightmare, but he couldn't wake up from it. Over time, he was deeply trapped in it and couldn't extricate himself. He no longer regarded this as a dream, but as Zhang Chen's life, his own life. Because everything was too real, so real that it made people crazy. After that, the third apprentice sister Qingning changed. She used to love to laugh, but her face was often cold. She didn't want to call Zhang Chen big brother anymore. If the two met by chance, they would just treat Zhang Chen as heir. Zhang Chen has been working hard. It took him a long time to finally find a treasure comparable to Yulong Linko, but when he gave it to Qingning, Qingning not only refused firmly, but also looked alert. The self in the picture was exhausted because of the righteousness. Although he woke up briefly, he was still in a coma, which made Lin Muibai very happy. He thought, without himself, Zhang Chen would not be misunderstood. Without himself, Big Brother should be happier. But the result? Zhang Chen's evil deeds continued. Whether due to coincidence or misunderstanding, he would always appear in the worst place, making people make the worst associations. Zhang Chen wanted to explain, but no one believed him. Because everyone thought, once or twice, it might be a coincidence. But if everything is related to Zhang Chen, it is not a coincidence, but a fact. Only Lin Muibai, as a bystander, knew that all this was really a coincidence that was scary. Looking up at the sky, he began to dislike the sky. Not long after, Zhang Lianyu became a disciple. Xiao Hong'ai rarely smiled, and the entire Zhufeng swept away the previous haze. But this situation did not last too long. When Zhang Chen learned that Zhang Lianyu had a cold poison in her body, he rushed there with the fire turbidity pill that he had spent 100 days to refine. Although Lin Muibai did not follow, he was sure that there would be some problems with this matter. Sure enough, Zhang Chen was charged with peeping, and the target was the sect's Tian Xiao. The head of Juyan sect was furious, and the law enforcement hall came out in full force. But all of this was stopped by Xiao Hong'ai. Although she destroyed Zhang Chen's Yuandan, she cried in the middle of the night because of the pain in her heart. Master, in the entire sect, you are the only one standing by the eldest brother. You must not waver. If even you hate the eldest brother, it will definitely be the greatest harm to the eldest brother. Lin Muibai prayed silently in the void. But this begging was obviously useless. One day, a man named Lin Feng became a disciple. Just by looking at him, Lin Muibai had an inexplicable liking for him. On the surface, Lin Feng is affectionate, decisive, and has great perseverance. But as a bystander, Lin Muibai saw another side of Lin Feng. Treacherous, lustful, cruel, and unscrupulous to achieve his goals, etc. Zhang Chen has been preventing his junior sisters from getting too close to Lin Feng, and also wants Xiao Hong'ai to see another side of Lin Feng. But the result? No matter what Lin Feng did, he seemed to be favored by heaven and earth, and bad things turned into good. And Zhang Chen, he was always the villain in everyone's heart. Over time, Lin Muibai discovered. Xiao Hong'ai's eyes changed when she looked at Zhang Chen. She no longer hated him for not fighting, but was cold and disappointed. Fortunately, things did not develop in the worst direction. After waking up, perhaps because of seeing the change in Zhang Chen, the attitude of the self in the picture gradually eased, and began to change his opinion of his senior brother. Although he did not completely trust him, he was no longer tit for tat. I think Zhang Chen is right, reading thousands of books is not as good as traveling thousands of miles. After obtaining the permission of his master, Lin Mubai in the picture left the sect and traveled everywhere. One day, he met a disciple of the demon sect who killed innocent people indiscriminately, and immediately stopped him. In the end, he even did not hesitate to use the slightest bit of righteousness that he cultivated, and barely killed the disciple of the demon sect directly. Originally, the righteous and the evil were not on good terms, and fighting each other was commonplace. But who would have thought? The disciple of the demon sect he killed was actually the new true disciple of the Yugui sect. The Yugui sect was furious and sent people to chase him non-stop. This is the disadvantage of the innate Taoist bone, the luck is too bad. Originally, the Juyan sect could solve this matter, but Lin Mubai in the picture thought it was an experience and wanted to face it alone. But what can he do to face it? His righteousness was exhausted, and his fighting power was not even as good as that of ordinary cultivators of the same level. Fortunately, Zhang Chen appeared at the critical moment. Zhang Chen, one person and one sword, protected him for 100 days. The true disciples of the Yugui sect died one by one. Even if the elders took action regardless of their status, Zhang Chen could successfully take him away. Not only that. During the period, he was accidentally injured, and Zhang Chen even took the source of the elixir himself to help him reshape the Yuan Dan. He almost ended up unable to make any further progress in his life. Who wouldn't be moved by this? Looking at himself and Zhang Chen chatting and laughing in the picture, Lin Mubai cried with joy. This is the picture he has always dreamed of. Only this picture can slightly alleviate the self-blame and guilt in his heart. Lin Mubai thought he saw the light. Little did he know. The real nightmare has just begun, and it was opened by a conversation. Big brother, I seem to like her. Who? It's the true disciple of the Yugui sect, who has been chasing me a few days ago. No way. That's a demon witch. You almost broke your Yuan Dan because of her. I know, but my mind is full of her. Even though I know she wants to kill me, I still can't resist the urge to see her. Mubai, stay away from her. This has nothing to do with good and evil. I always feel that the witch seems to have other intentions. Big brother, this is prejudice. You can reform yourself, why don't you believe that she can too? It's not that I prefer chrysanthemums among flowers, there will be no more flowers after this flower blooms. Lin Mubai in the void knew that it was not because of how charming the devil woman was that he had a special liking for her. But since the witch entered his heart, he could no longer appreciate other women. In order to see the devil woman again, he deliberately extended his travel time. Zhang Chen knew this very well, but he could only accompany him silently. Seeing that he was trapped in love, Zhang Chen took him to travel around the world, drinking and singing for 1,000 days. But even so, he still couldn't forget the beautiful figure in his mind. Finally, he couldn't stand it anymore and decided to cut the Gordian knot. One day when the ghost sect girl appeared again, he mustered up the courage to express his feelings, but the answer he got was, "Compared to you, your senior brother is more pleasing to the eye." Lin Mubai understood. The girl he liked turned out to be attracted to his senior brother. There was no anger, no resentment, and no reluctance. He just smiled and left a heartfelt blessing. He regarded himself as a gentleman, so he would not hate out of jealousy. Besides, feelings are not one-sided after all. Although he could not get what he wanted, his knot was untied. He and Zhang Chen returned to the sect together. Compared with before, the two of them were already quite close after spending time together day and night. Obviously, the ghost sect girl did not affect the relationship that the two brothers had established with great difficulty. Although the beautiful figure still existed in his mind, in Lin Muibai's view, it was just a passerby in life. But God didn't think so. Second brother, just as you left the sect to travel, the eldest brother followed you. The entire sect knows who the eldest brother is. You'd better be careful, as the eldest brother wants to take away your innate Taoist bone, Lin Feng suddenly said one day. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 23. The self in the picture did not disappoint Lin Muibai. After hearing what Lin Feng said, he didn't believe it at all. He even scolded Lin Feng for being narrow-minded and sowing dissension. In the end, Lin Feng left angrily. The next few days were relatively peaceful. After traveling in the mortal world for 1,000 days, Lin Muibai's state of mind changed significantly. He still loves reading, but whenever he reads about the love between men and women, he sighs sadly. During this period, Zhang Chen did a lot of evil deeds. But unlike before, in addition to the master, there was another second junior brother standing beside Zhang Chen. Under Lin Muibai's arguments, many things were proved to be misunderstandings. For a while, although Lin Feng, Zhang Lianyu, Qingning, and other junior sisters and junior brothers still have a dislike for Zhang Chen. But there is no doubt that Zhang Chen's reputation is gradually improving, and Master Xiao Hongai's face also has a lot of smiles. Everything seems to be going in the best direction. Until one day, Lin Muibai received a letter, and the messenger was the demonic woman he had longed for. The content of the letter was very brief. It only said that they had important matters to discuss and asked him to leave the Juyan sect and go to the Yudong paradise 100 miles away to meet him. After much hesitation, Lin Muibai went. But as soon as he arrived at his destination, he was attacked from behind and fell unconscious. In a daze, he felt someone clawing open his chest, then reaching into his hand, and using an extremely rough move, dug out the ribs in front of his heart, that is, innate Dao bone. After a while, Lin Muibai finally opened his eyes with perseverance. What caught his eye was a man. The man stood in front of him, his expression slightly panicked, and in his raised right hand, he was holding a. There are still innate bones dripping with blood. The white clothes swaying in front of his eyes never felt so dazzling to Lin Muibai. Leaning slightly, an angry roar sounded. Zhang Chen! You beast! Lin Muibai in the void was already stupid. As a bystander, he saw everything happen. The person who dug out his innate Taoist bones was not Zhang Chen, but the ghost sect witch. Zhang Chen arrived at the critical moment and not only seriously injured the demon girl, but also regained the innate Taoist bones. But just when he was about to put the Dao bone back into his body, the self in the picture woke up. Coincide? How could there be so many coincidences? All this is obviously intentional. And the initiator is God who thinks he is superior. The scene changes to the Nine Peaks Hall again. Xiao Hongai was high up in the hall, and the Nine Peaks disciples gathered here. Zhang Chen knelt in the hall, with blood stains still remaining on his hands. He buried his head and closed his eyes, remaining silent as if accepting his fate. Zhang Chen. I thought you had made some improvements, but who knew that you were actually trying to deceive us and win Muibai's trust, so that you could dig up bones and kill people, an elder scolded. Fart. Which one of your eyes saw senior brother digging up bones and killing people? Lin Muibai defended loudly in the void. Humph, it's easy to change a country's nature, but hard to change its nature, fifth junior sister Zhang Lianyu said. Are you blind? Use your brain and think carefully. If senior brother really wanted to dig out my Taoist bones, why didn't he dig them out while traveling? I was seriously injured, why didn't he dig them out when the Yuan Den collapsed? Did he have to return to the sect to dig out? And then did you catch him right? Lin Muibai yelled. Hey, I warned the second senior brother a long time ago, but the second senior brother didn't listen, Lin Feng sarcastically said. I'm sorry. It's you. You did all this. Even if you didn't do it yourself, it was because God wanted to favor you. You are the one who deserves to die. Lin Muibai had lost it. reasonable, full of foul language. Seeing that all the disciples wanted to jump out and accuse Zhang Chen with vicious words. "Shut up," Xiao Hongai's cold voice suddenly sounded, frightening everyone in Zhifeng to jump in their hearts. "Master!" Lin Mubai knelt down. Although he knew that Xiao Hongai could not hear his words, he still cried loudly, "Master, this is not the case. You have always been partial to the senior brother. Don't give up on the senior brother at this moment. Zhang Chen, your crime of harming a fellow sect is unforgivable. From now on, you will no longer be the true successor of the 9 peaks of the Juyan sect, nor will you be my disciple of Xiao Hongai. Today I will abolish your cultivation and seal the Zhang family as a mausoleum. If they have any complaints, just ask them to come to me," Xiao Hongai said in a cold voice. "Hear the words." Boom. Lin Mubai felt a thunder explode in his mind. Expelled from the sect? Abolish cultivation? His big brother. He is a senior brother who is always kind and cares for all his junior brothers and sisters, but he is constantly misunderstood. Why should I be treated like this? God, how unfair. Call. A hurricane suddenly broke out in the hall. Lin Mubai watched helplessly as a hot air emerged from Xiao Hongai's body, mixed with the unique aura of the monks in the upper 4 realms, and hit Zhang Chen's chest like 10,000 mountains. This blow showed no mercy. Without uttering a single word, Zhang Chen was directly blasted out of the hall, falling from the top of the 9 peaks, and finally fell to the ground when he flew out of the sect. At this time, Zhang Chen's cultivation was completely exhausted and he fell into a coma. A middle-aged man wearing alchemy clothes appeared in the originally deserted sect. Pooh! The middle-aged man spat on the ground, looking gloating. The dignified young master of the Zhang family is now like a bereaved dog. Zhang Chen, if you had known this, why did you do it in the first place? By the way, I know you were wrong this time. After all, I was collecting medicine in the spiritual field outside the sect yesterday, and happened to see a woman from the demon sect knocking Lin Mubai unconscious. I think it was the demon sect woman who wanted to seize Lin Mubai's innate Taoist bones. You just happened to be here, right? Also, the last time senior nephew Qingning came back to the clan, I drugged you so that you couldn't control yourself and broke into senior nephew Qingning's residence. You were caught in the end. Zhang Chen, don't blame me. Xiao Hongai is partial. The Juyan sect is worried about you Fengling Zhang family. I have no choice but to do this. You have a despicable character and corrupt moral conduct. The 1,000-year reputation of the Juyan sect must not be ruined because of you. I am doing all this for the sect. To defend the righteous path of Juyan. With every word he heard, Lin Mubai's expression became more ferocious. Murderous intent, guilt, self-blame, all kinds of emotions filled his mind, making his body tremble and his eyes red. Click. A crisp voice appeared. Lin Mubai knew that this was the sound of Yuan Dan and Daoji breaking in Zhang Chen's body. It's also the sound of heartbreak. Turning his head suddenly, he looked at the middle-aged man's leaving figure and said crazily, "Ma Wu. I swear to kill you. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil." Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 24. After Zhang Chen was expelled from the sect, all the disciples of Zhifeng cheered. Xiao Hongai was completely disappointed with Zhang Chen. She would be furious whenever anyone mentioned Zhang Chen's name. Lin Mubai in the void watched all this with cold eyes. If he had a choice, he would be more concerned about Zhang Chen's situation after leaving the sect, but the scene had no choice but to stay on Juyan sect Zhifeng. One day. From Lin Feng, Lin Mubai learned about the destruction of Fengling Jiang's family. He couldn't imagine how desperate Zhang Chen was when he lost his foothold again. Lin Mubai thought that Zhang Chen would never appear again. But God didn't seem to let his senior brother go. More than 10 years later, news of Zhang Chen spread to Zhifeng. Although his cultivation was abolished, perhaps because of a strange encounter, he was now a cultivator of the upper four realms, and he fought against 5 sword masters of Qiyao Sword Pavilion alone, and finally killed several people. With such an impressive record, he was called the Sword Emperor. Lin Feng was unhappy, and took a group of junior brothers and sisters to find trouble with Zhang Chen. In the end, Zhang Chen blew up his own spiritual sword and fled thousands of miles. He appeared again more than 10 years later, and took the initiative to challenge Lin Feng to a duel. The ending was a tragic death. Lin Mubai didn't understand. Why did his senior brother insist on stopping his junior brothers and sisters from getting too close to Lin Feng? And why did he still go against Lin Feng, the son of destiny, despite being cold-shouldered and misunderstood? This question was not answered until 100 years later. When he witnessed Lin Feng killing the righteous woman, and when he died under Lin Feng's butcher knife in the picture because he wanted revenge, Lin Mubai understood. It turned out that his senior brother wanted to save everyone. The first life came to an abrupt end. The second life reappeared. At this time, Lin Mubai had lost the elegance of a scholar. He became crazy and often questioned God loudly. His emotions fluctuated greatly. He was indifferent in the last second, but full of murderous intent in the next second. Especially when he realized that all this was not a dream at all, but a fact that Zhang Chen had experienced. He collapsed. Life after life, although the plot changed slightly, he still destroyed the Yulong spirit grass, causing junior sister Qingning and Zhang Chen to completely break up. Life after life. Under various coincidences and misunderstandings, and driven by him and his fellow junior brothers and sisters, Zhang Chen also walked step by step into the abyss and eventually died at the hands of Lin Feng. Until the end of the 9th life. The thief god, your uncle's son of destiny. I, Lin Mubai, just want to go against the sky. Lin Mubai laughed loudly, and there was no more elegance in his words. Obviously, he was also crazy. The 10th life. Since the sky wants me to be a villain, why should I go against the sky? Zhang Chen's words made Lin Muibai's eyes light up. After nodding continuously, Lin Muibai murmured. Big brother, I think so. Your talent is 1 in a million, and I have the innate Taoist bone. If we join forces, we should be able to kill that Lin Feng. No, killing him is not enough to relieve our anger, we must be more ruthless. Kill his whole family. Oh, he seems to be an orphan. Abolish his cultivation, destroy his body, and seal his soul in the toilet for 1,000 years. That won't work either. That bastard is the child of destiny. If he escapes, there will be trouble. Let me think about it, or, while Lin Feng has not yet become a disciple, our brothers and sisters should go and do something to him. Doesn't Lin Feng have several lovers in the lower domain? I'll go and tie them all up and hand them over to you, brother, to train. The last second, Lin Muibai was still thinking about how to accompany Zhang Chen as a villain and kill Lin Feng. The next second, he returned to reality. He was stunned for a long time with a dull look in his eyes. It was not until an hour later that he slowly turned his head and looked out the window. The night outside the window was still the same, but he was no longer the same person as before. The self-blame and guilt that had been suppressed for 9,000 years made him want to run to Zhang Chen with all his strength and kowtow to confess his guilt. Even if he was beaten to death, he wanted to say I'm sorry. But this thought only lasted for a moment. Like Zhang Lianyu, Lin Muibai also believed that at least in this life, Zhang Chen should be allowed to live freely. No one and nothing should affect him. Looking around, what caught his eyes were thousands of books. These books that he once regarded as his life became extremely dazzling at this moment. Bang! Pushing down the bookcase and knocking over the spiritual candle. Lin Muibai slowly came to the outside of the book pavilion and watched the flames devour the books, and then the flames illuminated the sky. Ha ha! Cool, Lin Muibai laughed wildly. Mubai. Are you crazy? An anxious voice sounded. As soon as the voice reached her ears, a flash of red clothes appeared in front of her, with an unbelievable expression. Master, I'm not crazy. It's you, the brothers and sisters, and this world that are crazy. Lin Mubai was still laughing. Xuanhuan was stunned. She felt that this sentence seemed to have been heard somewhere before. She thought about it carefully, and was struck by lightning in an instant. This was exactly the same as what Zhang Lianyu said when she wanted to self-destruct the Emperor's source not long ago. Mubai, calm down. After taking a deep breath, Xuanhuan comforted, don't do irreversible things because of a momentary impulse. If you plan to enter the Tao through literature and thus prove the throne, how can you burn thousands of books? Take a good look, these are all books of saints. Sage's book? I dare to ask Master, who wrote the Sage's book? Where are these people? Lin Mubai asked in return. Of course it was created by the sage and great Confucian Emperor Zheng before his ascension. Such great power has already stood side by side with the way of heaven and is naturally above the sky. Xuanhuan replied instantly. This answer was not what Lin Mubai expected. He grinned, narrowed his eyes into a smile line, and said, in that case, I did not burn it wrong. Not only that, I also want to say one thing, the sages. The sages' books. Hearing this, Xuanhuan covered her mouth with her hands and almost screamed. At the same time, only a boom was heard, and thunder suddenly sounded in the sky. Just after the thunder, a mysterious gas with dazzling white light burst out of Lin Mubai's body, and then disappeared between heaven and earth. This is, Heron is righteous. Lin Mubai's words just now clearly offended the sage. However, the sage was so angry that he had ended the possibility of entering Taoism through literature and attaining the throne of emperor. Haha, get lost. What kind of rubbish is Heron's righteousness? I'll leave it to you to play with. I don't care, Lin Mubai still laughed, and there was a bit more heartiness in his laughter. Crazy, really crazy. Xuanhuan was dumbfounded. She has always been very relieved about Lin Mubai, her second disciple. Although he is a nerd, his wine is not good either. But after more than 10 years in the cold window, Lin Mubai has a tough heart, hates evil as much as he hates it, and his moral character is absolutely excellent. But now, the entire Zhufeng and even the Juyan sect recognized him as a handsome gentleman. He was so full of filthy words that he not only set himself on fire with tens of thousands of books, but even pointed at the heavens and cursed the sages of the 9 heavens. After coming back to her senses, Xuanhuan just wanted to reprimand her. But he saw Lin Mubai suddenly looking at the sky in a daze, his eyes unfocused, spiritual energy gathering around his body, and he was in an indescribable mystery. Is this enlightenment? Xuanhuan's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. She knew that Lin Mubai had innate Taoism, and she also knew that if he had any enlightenment, he would fall into an epiphany. But the problem is, I have never heard that one can gain enlightenment even by insulting sages. And what kind of epiphany can come from this kind of situation? Without enough time to think about it, Xuanhuan personally protected Lin Mubai and strictly prohibited anyone from disturbing her. Time passed, and Lin Mubai's epiphany lasted for several hours, until the morning light first appeared and the sky gradually became brighter. Then, the crazy aura formed a hurricane of aura, wrapping Lin Mubai in it. The majestic spiritual energy entered through the pores all over his body, and finally gathered in Zifu, where it was absorbed by the Yuan Dan suspended in Zifu. Boom! Boom! The sounds of breakthroughs sounded one after another. Xuanhuan just watched helplessly, watching Lin Mubai's aura rising steadily. Early to mid-stage. Late stage of initial formation. Early Yuan dynasty. The middle period of the Yuan dynasty. The late Renai Yuan period. Until, the early Earth Yuan period. Everyone in Xuanhuan was dumbfounded. Sensing that someone had broken through 6 small realms and 2 large realms in a row, leaping from Xuanhuan to the Earth Yuan realm, a green stream of light came out from the top of the Juyan sect and came to Xuanhuan in an instant. Junior sister, what's going on? Is this an innate enlightenment? Senior brother, this is how it should be. Lin Mubai abandoned literature and joined martial arts. I don't know. Has he been stimulated by something? I don't know. Then what do you know? All I know is that another one seems to have gone crazy. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 25. Have you heard? Second senior brother burned down his own book pavilion, and died overnight. Is this true? Of course it's true. When second senior brother had an epiphany, the peak master personally protected him, and the death of the knight even caused the sect master to come in person. If I'm right, second senior brother should have given up literature and turned to martial arts. He has an innate Taoist bone, so he's naturally better than you and I. But I also heard that second senior brother seems to be crazy. Nonsense. Second senior brother didn't go crazy after studying for more than 10 years, and didn't go crazy after being beaten by the eldest brother many times. The death of the knight crazy? Isn't that nonsense? That's right, that's right. Anyway, this is definitely a great thing for my Zhifeng. Yes, second senior brother has a gentle personality and hates evil. Before, his cultivation was not as good as that of the eldest senior brother, but he still stood up for us many times. Now second senior brother is already in the Earth Yuan realm, and the eldest senior brother can no longer be arrogant. Haha, do you think the eldest senior brother will be beaten by second senior brother? The next day, Zhifeng seemed extremely lively, and disciples' discussions could be heard everywhere. Zhanghu, the disciple of the great elder of Zhifeng, looking at the entire Zhifeng, except for the true disciples such as Zhang Chen, his status is definitely the highest. But no one knows that he lives in fear every day. The reason is very simple. Among the many disciples, Zhang Chen dislikes him the most. Whenever he meets him, he will be ordered to do a bunch of chores at the least, and a beating at the worst. This makes Zhanghu want to cry. Is it easy for him? When he first entered Zhifeng and became a disciple of the great elder of Zhifeng, he thought his good days were coming. But who knew that he was now worried every day whether he would be beaten to death by Zhang Chen one day. Facing Zhang Chen's coercion, Zhanghu dared to be angry but dared not speak. But this will become a thing of the past. Because the second senior brother who had always taken good care of him suddenly realized it and became a Dun overnight. That was the Dun realm, and it was also a top existence among the true disciples. Zhanghu was sure and certain. From then on, he would hold Lin Mubai's thigh tightly, and then become the first person under the true teaching of Zhifeng. 30 years in the east and 30 years in the west. Zhang Chen, don't look down on the poor young man. Zhanghu folded his arms and raised his head to himself. Big brother. Someone is scolding you. I heard it, a loud voice suddenly rang out. Hearing this, Zhanghu jumped up in fright. He turned his head suddenly, and what he saw was a fellow disciple with a pointed mouth and monkey cheeks. Zhanghu remembered that this person was one of the lackeys who always followed Zhang Chen. This also proves. Thinking of this, Zhanghu swallowed his saliva and turned his head stiffly to look into the distance. As expected, he really saw Zhang Chen, who was strolling around every day and bullying his fellow disciples for fun. Zhanghu subconsciously wanted to run, but he was a step slower after all. After hearing this, Zhang Chen came at a high speed and said viciously, "What did you say just now?" Zhanghu was speechless. After holding it in for a long time, he finally said a complete sentence. I said, the eldest brother is wise and brave, and humble. He is really a role model for my Zhifeng. A model of righteousness. Did he say that? Jiang Chen turned his head and asked his younger brother. No, he said that 30 years in the east and 30 years in the west, so you should not bully the poor young. He also said that you, the eldest brother, are not as good as a finger of the second brother. Sooner or later, he will beat you down and take your position as the true disciple, the younger brother immediately replied. Zhang Hu's face froze immediately. Shameless, too shameless. Eavesdropping would be fine, but he actually added fuel to the fire? Although he thought about the following words, he never said them. In an instant, Zhang Hu made the most correct decision in his life. After taking a deep breath, there was a thump sound. He knelt down directly. Big brother, please forgive me. I just spoke quickly and I have no intention of disrespecting you. Zhang Hu squeezed out 2 tears and begged. He thought that even so, he would not be able to escape the beating today. But who knows? Jiang Chen, who used to look ferocious, became kind today. He helped Zhang Hu up and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I won't bother you. I just want to trouble you to go to Hedong." Hedong? Zhang Hu was confused again. There is no place called Hedong within 100 miles of Juyan sect. Isn't it 30 years in Hedong and 30 years in Hexi? Jiang Chen asked with a smile. Zhang Hu's face turned pale, and he felt something was wrong. If that's the case, I'll kill you in Hedong first. Jiang Chen suddenly changed his tone, his eyes flashing with ferocity. Behavior is in line with the villain setting, and the third junior sister will be rewarded with a belly band. Third junior sister? Qingning. What kind of weird reward is this? Jiang Chen was extremely speechless. Although he had long known that the rewards of the system were not all good things, he did not expect that this time it would be so weird. What was even more speechless was still to come. After hearing this, Zhang Hu was frightened and his limbs went limp, and his body trembled. He hugged Jiang Chen's thighs, shaking desperately while begging for mercy, "Big brother, please spare me. I have an 80-year-old mother above me, and The words were not finished yet. A piece of green clothing slipped from Jiang Chen's arms under the influence of shaking and floated to the ground. The 2 words Qingning outlined in red on it were extremely eye-catching. Zhang Hu glanced at the clothes on the ground, then looked up at Jiang Chen. He was thinking. Thinking about whether he should pretend to be blind. Jiang Chen was speechless, and was about to pick up the belly band on the ground. A beautiful figure ran quickly from a distance, and was stunned when she saw the belly band on the ground. "Senior brother, is this Qingning's?" Zhang Lianyu asked. Dog system. Jiang Chen was embarrassed and cursed in his heart. But the next second, he felt something was wrong. What is embarrassing? He is the villain's senior brother. As long as he is not embarrassed, others will be embarrassed. Cough. With a light cough, Jiang Chen picked up the clothes on the ground, not only smelled it, but also stuffed it back into his arms with a calm face. Seeing Zhang Lianyu, Zhang Hu, and even his 2 younger brothers, they all looked at him with strange eyes. With a cynical smile, he said righteously, "As the senior brother of Zhifeng, I have 1 or 2 junior sisters' belly bands in my arms. It's reasonable, right?" Reasonable? Zhang Hu complained in his heart. Seeing Jiang Chen looking at him unkindly, he quickly expressed his opinion, "Reasonable. Very reasonable." Hearing this, the 2 younger brothers around Jiang Chen also nodded desperately, saying that this logic was very meticulous and could withstand scrutiny, and there was no problem. Only Zhang Lianyu did not reply, with a gloomy expression. Is her madness cured? Jiang Chen guessed secretly. But what if she was cured? The worst case is to go to Xuanhuan to complain. In this regard, Jiang Chen said that it was not false at all. As a villain elder brother, isn't it a basic operation to disappoint the master? I don't think Xiao I would expel him from the sect directly because of this matter. Big brother, where is mine? After a long time, Zhang Lianyu finally asked. What's yours? Zhang Chen was stunned. Of course it's this one, pointing to the belly band in Zhang Chen's arms, which still had the corner of the clothes exposed. Zhang Lianyu blinked her beautiful eyes and said seriously, senior brother should not be partial to one over the other and only carry sister Qingning's underwear with him, but not mine, right? The identification is complete, and he is still in a crazy state. Zhang Chen got the answer instantly. Seeing Zhang Lianyu looking at him expectantly, he fell into a struggle between heaven and man. Finally, adhering to the principle of not disappointing his junior sister, he took out a light blue belly band from his arms. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 26. A few hours later, Zhang Hu appeared on the mountainside of Zhifeng. Although Zhang Chen didn't really kill him in the end, he was inevitably beaten up, and his face was bruised. Zhang Hu had been looking for Lin Mubai for a long time. After some inquiries, he learned that after the book pavilion was burned, Lin Mubai came to live on the mountainside, not far from the wooden pavilion where Zhang Chen was. Many people were not surprised by this, thinking that this must be the reason why Lin Mubai wanted to monitor Zhang Chen nearby. Zhang Hu thought so too. Therefore, at this moment, he couldn't wait to find Lin Mubai to complain so that the latter could make the decision for him. Walking along the winding path on the mountainside, passing by Zhang Chen's wooden pavilion on the way, at the end of the path, a newly built house came into view. After another search, Zhang Hu finally saw the back of the Confucianist at the right cliff. Second brother, after taking a deep breath, he ran with a crying voice. Hearing this, the back turned around. Zhang Hu wanted to tell Zhang Chen all the atrocities he had committed against him in one breath, but he suddenly froze. Because what he saw was not the Lin Mubai who used to look like a scholar, pay attention to his appearance, and carry a book wherever he went. Instead, he was a man who was unkempt, with bloodshot eyes, messy black hair like a chicken coop, his sleeves torn off his scholarly robe, his arms bare, and holding 2 machetes. Who are you? Zhang Hu jumped up in shock. What's the matter? The man said in a deep voice. Feeling that the voice was very familiar, Zhang Hu began to look carefully. Although the man in front of him looked like a savage, and an extremely manic savage, his facial features were indeed exactly the same as Lin Mubai's. Second brother, Zhang Hu had tears in his eyes and said in a trembling voice, how did you become like this? Lin Mubai did not answer, but looked at him coldly. Recalling the rumors of the disciples of Zhifeng today, a thought emerged in Zhang Hu's mind, is the second senior brother really crazy? What's that look in your eyes? Do you believe I will chop you off? As if he had noticed Zhang Hu's thoughts, Lin Mubai raised the machete in his hand and threatened with a fierce voice. What? Zhang Hu was stunned. Could this be what Lin Mubai, who read the books of sages and cultivated righteousness, could say? If he was not sure that he was not mistaken, he would definitely doubt whether the wild man in front of him was Zhang Chen pretending to be him. Before he came to his senses, Zhang Hu saw the vitality on the 2 machetes gathered again, and the next second, Lin Mubai actually raised the machete and chopped at him. This scared him again. Fortunately, Lin Mubai did not use all his strength in this knife, and Zhang Hu himself was also a cultivator of Yuandan, and he finally dodged sideways at the critical moment. Second senior brother. Look carefully, it's me, Zhang Hu. Aren't we the closest and most intimate brothers who can talk about anything? Zhang Hu shouted desperately. I'm going to chop you, you bastard, Lin Mubai attacked again with his knife. For 9 generations and thousands of years, he had seen Jiang Chen being misunderstood countless times. Although these had nothing to do with Zhang Hu, every time Jiang Chen was scolded by Xuanhuan and hated by his junior brothers and sisters, this guy was the one who laughed the most. Who else should I chop if not him? In a hurry, Zhang Hu had to shout again, I have something to say, about the eldest senior brother. Hearing this, Lin Mubai was stunned, and the violent vitality on his body gradually calmed down. There's a chance. Zhang Hu was happy in his heart, thinking, it seems that even if the second senior brother is crazy, his disgust for the eldest senior brother has not decreased. With this thought in mind, he immediately told Jiang Chen's actions one by one. He didn't add fuel to the fire, after all, this matter was already too much. Jiang Chen not only beat up his fellow disciples in public, but also hid his junior sister's belly band in his arms. 2. According to Zhang Hu's understanding of Lin Mubai, the latter would be ashamed after knowing this, and would vent his anger for him. You said that the senior brother had junior sister Qingning's personal belongings in his arms. After a long silence, Lin Mubai asked. No lie, Zhang Hu patted his chest and assured, I saw this with my own eyes. Not only senior sister Qingning, but also senior sister Lian Yu. What's more exaggerated is that the senior brother smelled it in front of me. It's like this, Lin Mubai was shocked. That's right, Zhang Hu nodded seriously and sighed, hey, I didn't expect it. My senior brother Zhufeng would be so shameless. This is simply great, Lin Mubai interrupted loudly. Zhang Hu was stunned for a moment. Great. Why didn't he see it? What's good about it? What he didn't know was, for 9,000 years, Jiang Chen has been considering everyone, but not himself. Lin Mubai saw all this. But this life? Jiang Chen is not only willing to be a villain, but also completely let go of himself regardless of other people's eyes. Living so freely and unrestrained is exactly what Lin Mubai expects. However, Lin Mubai did not expect that his senior brother would have such a hobby, but these are all trivial matters. No one is perfect. Jiang Chen is so outstanding that it is reasonable to have one or two shortcomings. Lin Muibai's expression sank again, looking at Zhang Hu, who was still confused, and said, who did you say was shameless just now? Oh, I'm talking about senior brother. Senior brother is shameless and despicable. Please ask the second senior brother to take action and let the senior brother understand what justice from heaven is, Zhang Hu said loudly. Justice from heaven, Lin Mubai narrowed his eyes slightly. Yes. Only you, the second senior brother, can enforce justice on behalf of heaven, Zhang Hu replied in seconds. He. Lin Mubai laughed. The laughter was a little weird and a little cruel. Waving the two knives in his hands, his face was ferocious in an instant, and he said with murderous intent, I will chop you first, and sooner or later I will chop the sky. Justice from heaven? Damn justice from heaven! Whoever dares to say justice from heaven, I will chop him. Under the stern murderous intent, Zhang Hu's expression was horrified and trembling. He was now convinced that his second senior brother was really crazy, or the kind who was completely irrational. Escape. Must escape. With the thought in his mind, Zhang Hu wanted to turn around and run wildly. But soon he found out. Affected by the murderous intent and Lin Muibai's strong breath of the Earth Yuan realm, his blood stagnated in his body, and his vitality was stagnant, and he couldn't take a step at all. In the end, he could only watch with fear as Lin Mubai waved the machete in his hand and broke through the air one after another. A moment of life and death. Where did this savage come from? A surprised voice suddenly sounded. Hearing the sound, the two knives stopped in front of Zhang Hu's forehead. Looking at the person coming, after a brief shock, Lin Muibai's limbs trembled slightly, and his breathing fluctuated violently. In just an instant, tears flowed from his eyes and flowed down his cheeks. Zhang Hu looked back with relief for surviving the disaster. Not far away, a man in black was looking at everything in front of him in disbelief, still eating spiritual fruit in his mouth. Big brother. Lin Muibai's voice choked. Holding the idea of trying his luck, Zhang Hu also begged, Big brother, second brother is crazy. Save me quickly. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 27. Clang dash. The 2 knives in his hands fell from his hands and fell to the ground. After wiping the tears on his cheeks and shouting elder brother, Lin Muibai opened his arms and ran straight over. Seeing this, Zhang Chen's scalp went numb. He also didn't expect that the savage in front of him was actually Lin Muibai. Although there are rumors that Lin Muibai burned himself to death and fell into madness overnight. But Zhang Chen didn't believe this. After all, he knew better than anyone how much Lin Muibai regarded books as his life, and he also knew how tenacious Lin Muibai was. But at this moment, he had to believe it. Because this madman is running towards him. And he cried like a lunatic. Since the madness is real, then the incident of Lin Muibai becoming earthly in one night is also true. In an instant, Zhang Chen decided. Withdraw. He didn't want to deal with a madman. Again, what if Lin Muibai got crazy and stabbed himself with a knife? Although he was not afraid, why did he want to fight with a madman? He's not crazy. Again. Zhang Lianyu is crazy in front, and Lin Muibai is crazy in the back. This makes Zhang Chen feel. This crazy disease might be contagious. With a whoosh sound, Zhang Chen turned around and ran quickly. Senior brother, wait for me, Lin Muibai called from behind. In response to this, Zhang Chen glanced disdainfully, a fool would wait. Only fools play with madmen. As he ran, he found that he was overtaken by a figure. Ding Qing took a look and saw that it was Zhang Hu who was also running away with all his strength. Zhang Hu was obviously frightened by Lin Muibai. With his potential stimulated, his speed even exceeded his own cultivation level. Elder brother, listen to me. Lin Muibai's voice sounded again. Listen to your sister. After cursing in his mind, Zhang Chen sped up, stepped forward and grabbed Zhang Hu's lapel. Zhang Hu was confused. How dare you run in front of me? Haha, go back. While laughing, Zhang Chen's arms gathered energy and directly threw Zhang Hu, who was running happily, backward. Behavior conforms to the villain setting, reward, heart-eating soul-charming pill. What a coincidence. Zhang Hu, who flew backwards quickly, hit Lin Muibai's arms accurately, and the latter picked him up instinctively. Both of them froze in place and looked at each other. Lin Muibai. Zhang Hu. I'm most afraid of the sudden silence in the air. After a brief silence, Zhang Hu swallowed hard and said with a stiff smile, Second senior brother, how about you put me down first? Can I run again? You wanna die? Lin Muibai was furious, smashed Zhang Hu to the ground, and punched him several times. After a while, Zhang Hu was already dying on the ground. Lin Muibai, who was out of breath, looked up, only to find that Zhang Chen had disappeared. Why? Lin Muibai sighed deeply, his expression gloomy. Zhang Chen ran too fast just now, which made him feel that his senior brother seemed unwilling to forgive him. The situation of the 9,000 years came to mind, and he felt that it was natural. After all, Zhang Chen, his senior brother, has finally shouldered everything by himself. Thinking of this, Lin Muibai kicked Zhang Hu. Ah! Zhang Hu screamed. Hearing this, Lin Muibai frowned and decided to kick a few more times. There is no reason, I just feel unhappy. Half an hour later, Lin Muibai's figure appeared at the foot of Danfan Mountain. He is still dressed as a savage and carries 2 machetes on his back. He made a special trip to Kifeng today to grab these 2 machetes from the Kifeng warehouse. Although they are nameless and their appearance is not that good, They are all top-grade spiritual weapons. Even if the Juyan sect has a lot of knowledge about this level of spiritual weapon, only the true successors and senior elders of each peak are qualified to possess it, and it requires a lot of merit in exchange. If Lin Muibai hadn't snatched it, Xuanhuan appeared in time to communicate with the master of Qi Peak and exchanged it with a spiritual weapon of the same level, he really wouldn't have been able to grab it. And Lin Muibai came here for only one purpose. Kill Ma Wu. Only in this way can his sin be alleviated. Help Zhang Chen vent his anger. He inquired and found out that Ma Wu had woken up from a coma, but because Ma's family was massacred, the law enforcement hall was worried that Zhang Chen would do something evil again, so it strictly protected Ma Wu. Lin Muibai's character is highly recognized by both Danfan and the disciples of the law enforcement hall. Although these people didn't understand why Lin Muibai was dressed like this today, they did not prohibit him from entering the peak. As for Dan Peak, it is normal for disciples from other peaks to come here to refine and exchange pills. From the beginning to the end, the only person the law enforcement hall disciples were guarding against was Zhang Chen. Entering Danfan, Lin Muibai was familiar with the roads and soon arrived at the elder's residence where Ma Wu was. Muibai, why are you dressed like this? Li Faju in front of the door asked in surprise. Lin Muibai remained silent. During the 9,000 years, Li Faju also made things difficult for Zhang Chen many times. The reason why he didn't take action directly was because he knew he couldn't beat him. Seeing that Lin Muibai didn't reply, Li Faju became even more confused. But nephew Lin is here? Come in quickly, Ma Wu shouted from inside the room. Hearing this, Lin Muibai strode forward. Li Faju thought for a while but did not stop. In the past, because Lin Muibai and Ma Wu were both extremely angry at Zhang Chen's actions, the two had a good relationship and often moved around. Now that the Ma family has been slaughtered and Ma Wu has just woken up from a coma, it is indeed reasonable for Lin Muibai to come to visit. But Li Faju never expected it. After Lin Muibai entered the room, Ma Wu just got up from the couch. Go to hell! Lin Muibai shouted fiercely, and immediately swung his two swords, aiming at Ma Wu's head, and chopped several times. Lin Muibai? Are you crazy? Seeing this, Li Faju was shocked. Seeing that Ma Wu was in danger of his life, the ancient sword on his back automatically came out of the sheath, and under the control of Yuan Qi, he instantly chopped out several sword qi. Although he didn't know what was going on, Li Faju had always had a good impression of Lin Muibai. Therefore, although these several sword qi were sharp, they only hit Lin Muibai's two swords in the end, and saved Ma Wu's life. Zheng. The two swords were hit by the sword qi, making a harsh trembling sound. The peak of Tianyuan cultivation is not something Lin Muibai can resist. The impact caused by the sword qi made him retreat several steps in an instant. Master, Lin Muibai suddenly looked outside the door and shouted. Xuanhuan is here? Li Faju was stunned and turned his head to look. But this time, there was nothing. Not good, Li Faju guessed something and exclaimed. He turned his head suddenly. Sure enough, he saw Lin Muibai raised his two swords again, and the vitality gathered on them. When he swung the sword, he brought out several sword shadows, and the cold light was dazzling. At first glance, Lin Muibai's swordsmanship was poor, but the strong murderous intent, coupled with the crazy vitality, also showed the strength of the Earth Yuan realm to the fullest. Li Faju felt that it might be too late, but he had to try. Ha! After a loud shout, his peak Tianyuan momentum pressed towards Lin Muibai like a tsunami. At the same time, he swung the sword again, and a sword energy of a foot wide appeared again. The majestic momentum hit him, causing Lin Muibai to stagger. Facing the rapidly approaching sword energy, he did not intend to dodge, and still gritted his teeth and swung the knife down. You're really crazy. You'd rather be seriously injured than kill someone, Li Faju was furious. Lin Muibai had an innate Taoist bone, and the matter of the one-night earth element was known to the sect. Li Faja didn't want to hurt the sex genius with his own hands, so he had to strike out with a sword again, faster, and instantly offset the previous sword energy. But in this way. Ah! My hand! The knife light fell, and Ma Wu covered his bloody right shoulder and screamed in pain. Li Faja breathed a sigh of relief. Although Ma Wu had lost an arm, it was fine as long as he was not dead. Seeing that Lin Mubai wanted to attack again, he had to rush in quickly, blocking Ma Wu, and coldly scolded, "Lin Mubai! Do you really think I dare not kill you?" Lin Mubai didn't answer, and clenched the two knives again. But the next moment, he restrained his breath and said to the outside of the door, "Master! You are simply stubborn. You still want to deceive me." Li Faja was even more angry. As soon as the words fell, a red shadow floated in. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 28. At night. After strolling around the 9 peaks, Zhang Chen returned to his residence. Sitting at the wooden table, he propped his head with his left hand, and gently flipped his right hand, and a light pink pill appeared in his palm. This pill was the reward he had just received, the heart-eating charming soul pill. This pill is a poison pill, and its quality is perfect. If a cultivator takes it, both men and women will lose their minds and attack all the opposite sex in their sight like a beast. The so-called attack is not a fight, but the kind between men and women. Since after taking it, the heart-eating charming soul pill will dissolve quickly and merge with the flesh and blood of the cultivator, so even if the upper 4 realms cultivators take action to investigate, they will not find anything unusual and can only guess. Under various medicinal properties, the heart-eating charming soul pill is definitely the best poison pill that harms people invisibly, and its grade is also as high as the 7th grade. Looking at the entire central region, only Danggu Tower can refine the 7th grade pill, and it is at most of inferior quality. The perfect quality heart-eating soul charming pill is not the same concept as the inferior quality one. The perfect quality one is not only more effective, it does not distinguish between men and women, humans and animals, but it will also completely devour the cultivator's mind and cannot be reversed. Even after the medicinal properties are completely dissipated, the cultivator who takes it will become a fool without any mind. Zhang Chen has eaten the inferior quality heart-eating soul charming pill more than once. The person who tried every means to trick him into eating it was Danfan Ma Wu. In the 9 reincarnations, Zhang Chen had lost his mind in many lives and attacked his third apprentice sister Qingning, but was caught at the critical moment. All this was thanks to Ma Wu. Due to the special concealment of the heart-eating soul charming pill, and Zhang Chen's bad reputation, no one believed it no matter how he explained it. The funny thing is, Ma Wu used various means to harm Zhang Chen, but he was under the banner of justice. In his eyes, doing evil to evil people is just a means of defending justice. "I can't sleep unless Ma Wu dies," Zhang Chen whispered with his eyes slightly closed. "This man must die. And the extermination of the Ma family is just to prevent Ma Wu from dying too easily." As for how to kill Ma Wu, Zhang Chen actually has several plans in mind. But helpless. After learning that the Ma family was massacred, Ma Wu has been in a coma and only woke up today. The law enforcement hall has been wandering around Danfan to prevent someone from doing something dirty. Of course, if Zhang Chen disregards everything and uses the power of the Fengling Zhang family, he can still kill Ma Wu. But in this way, the future troubles are too great. At the least, he will be expelled from the sect. At this time, Lin Feng has not yet become a disciple, but the villain elder brother of Juyan sect is gone? The consequences of this are unpredictable. Although the plot can be changed, this is no longer a change, but a collapse. If the plot collapses, Zhang Chen will not be able to predict what will happen in the future and lose the opportunity. In serious cases, it may affect the ending and cause the mission to fail. Therefore, he had to go against the plot. That was why he was waiting. waiting for an opportunity to kill Ma Wu in a short time without breaking the plot. Knock, knock. While thinking, there was a knock on the door. Then, a slight male voice appeared, "Big brother, something happened at Danfan." Hearing this, Zhang Chen stood up and quickly opened the door. Without him asking, a man with a pointed face and monkey cheeks outside the door reported, "Big brother, I don't know what's wrong with that crazy Lin Mubai, he actually went to Danfan to kill Ma Wu." This man's name is Lu Wu, one of Zhang Chen's younger brothers. Because of his good body skills, he is usually responsible for gathering information and monitoring the movements of Danfan. "Is Ma Wu dead?" Zhang Chen asked quickly. "He didn't die, but one of his arms was cut off," Lu Wu said with a gloating look on his face. At this moment, the Peak Master and the people from the Law Enforcement Hall are taking Lin Mubai to see the head of the sect. Judging from the situation, he should be severely punished. "It's good that he didn't die. It's good that he didn't die." Zhang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Ma Wu must die, and he must die at his hands. If he was killed by the madman Lin Mubai, where would he vent his anger? As for Lin Mubai being severely punished, Zhang Chen didn't believe it at all. Although Lin Mubai was crazy, he was born with a Taoist bone after all, and he always had a good reputation. On one side was the elder of Danfan, and on the other side was the sect's Tian Xiao, who was just temporarily crazy. Needless to say, if no one was really killed, the sect would at most give a verbal warning and let Xiao Hong'ai keep a close eye on Lin Mubai. After all, only Zhang Chen, a natural villain, would be criticized so harshly by the sect. Zhang Chen's eyes suddenly lit up, and he asked, "Are you sure that the people from the Law Enforcement Hall have left?" "Well, although not all of them have left, there are only a few disciples of the Law Enforcement Hall left, and their cultivation is only at the initial stage of Yuandan, so their vigilance has also decreased a lot," Lu Wu affirmed. Zhang Chen smiled instantly when he heard this. He was just wondering when the opportunity would come. Now, isn't it here? Danfan, in the elder's room. Ma Wu was lying on the bed, his face pale and his eyes dull. The massacre of the Ma family was still in front of him. He had just woken up from a coma, but he lost an arm again. The situation just now was vivid, and he was afraid whenever he thought of Ma Wu. If Li Faju hadn't tried his best to stop Lin Muibai's last knife, he would not have lost his arm, but his head. Damn it! It must be Zhang Chen who did it. Lin Muibai and I have a good relationship, why did he do this inexplicably? It must be Zhang Chen who took advantage of his madness and bewitched him, Ma Wu roared angrily. It was Lin Muibai who cut off his hand, but he blamed Zhang Chen. Such a ridiculous behavior seemed so natural to him. Thinking of Zhang Chen, Ma Wu's face became extremely gloomy. He originally thought that Zhang Chen, a disciple with such despicable behavior, should be abolished and expelled from the sect, but now he has changed his mind. Must die. Zhang Chen is a scourge to the world and a cancer to the sect. If he doesn't die, he will harm countless people. Even if he does evil things and bears a bad name, I must kill him. The Fengling Zhang family must also be destroyed. A family that can raise such a scourge must also harbor evil intentions. Xiao Hong'ai is kind-hearted and can't see through the nature of her eldest disciple, so I will help her. Yes. Poison pill. I can go to Danggu Tower and ask for a heart-eating charming soul pill. This pill is extremely hidden and will surely expose Zhang Chen's nature to everyone. Although the Fengling Zhang family is strong, it is not invincible. Once the dynasty is angry, the 1,000-year-old family will also be exterminated. As he spoke, Ma Wu smiled. He already had a detailed plan in his mind. If the plan succeeds, all this will not be difficult. Instead, he thought of Zhang Lianyu and Lin Muibai. Both of them were the sect's geniuses, but they gradually fell into madness and wanted to kill him. Could it be that Zhang Chen is behind the madness of these two people? Yes, that must be the case. Otherwise, I have no grudges against them, so why is this happening? Ma Wu kept nodding his head, his expression suddenly clear. Although there is no evidence, the source of all things points to Zhang Chen. Who else could it be but him? Just as Ma Wu was thinking about how to expose Zhang Chen's actions and save the two sect geniuses. Master, it's time to take medicine. A young boy with his head buried came in with a medicine bowl. What medicine? Ma Wu asked. Ordinary tonic medicine. In addition, I also crushed some blood replenishing pills and mixed them in. Master is weak, and swallowing the pills directly requires vitality to stimulate it, so it can save a lot of vitality, the young disciple said again. Yes. Ma Wu responded lightly, thinking that there was nothing wrong. Being able to think about things so carefully also proved that he really accepted a good disciple. Without hesitation, he took the medicine bowl with his remaining left hand and drank it all at once. From beginning to end, Ma Wu didn't notice it. His young apprentice's face was not only pale, but also full of fear. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 29. After taking the medicine bowl handed back by Ma Wu, the young apprentice was obviously relieved. Cough. Cough. Ma Wu suddenly coughed. The sudden sound made the young apprentice tremble all over, and the medicine bowl in his hand fell to the ground. Boom. The medicine bowl shattered and splashed around. Ma Wu frowned and turned to look at his apprentice. It was this look that made the young apprentice lose his mind, and his face turned as pale as paper. Hearing a pop sound, the young apprentice knelt down and kowtowed, Master! Master, have mercy on me. All of this was forced on me by Zhang Chen. I had no choice but to do it. Zhang Chen? When the name hit his ears, Ma Wu's eyes suddenly opened wide, and he immediately thought of something. Glancing at the broken bowl on the ground, he suppressed his anger and said, What did you do? The disciple just crushed the elixir given by Zhang Chen and mixed it into the medicine bowl just now. Zhang Chen said that the elixir can make you lively and vigorous instantly, Master, and make you at least 10 years younger. The young apprentice kowtowed again. Ma Wu was so angry that his eyes were filled with fire. What does it mean to be alive and young for 10 years? As soon as he heard these words, he knew they must be harmful pills. Fortunately, although his cultivation level is not high, he is a 6th grade alchemist. Poison pills can be easily forced out of the body by using pill fire. Then Zhang Chen, you really underestimated me, Ma Wu said disdainfully to his apprentice. I know you are afraid of Zhang Chen, but I didn't expect you to be afraid to this extent. Anyway, considering that you are also forced to have no choice, just as a teacher. Before he finished speaking, a wave of medicinal power emerged from his dantian, along his limbs and bones, and rushed straight to his head. Driven by the power of this medicine, he was breathing rapidly and sweating profusely. He really felt alive and well, as if he was 10 years younger. In an instant, Ma Wu thought of the Ma family. He thought of the Ma family's aunt who cooked, the janitor did Xuan, and the sister-in-law he used to bother. Also thought of the big yellow dog that guards the Ma family. Not good. Ma Wu was shocked and sat cross-legged on the bed. He never expected it. The elixir I took was so effective. Came so fast. Immersed in his mind, Ma Wu immediately activated the elixir fire in his body, hoping to use the power of the elixir fire to burn the heat that was running around in his body. The power of the alchemy fire is related to the level of the alchemist. 6th grade alchemy masters are very rare in the central region, and the alchemy fire they possess in their bodies is naturally extraordinary. Just when Ma Wu was full of confidence and prepared to destroy all the power of the medicine in one fell swoop, Something strange happened. I saw that the elixir fire was affected by the medicine and became abnormal. It's like meeting a relative, so excited. It's time to dance. The next second, the pill fire lost control and merged perfectly with the power of the medicine. It rushed around along the tendons and veins, and soon began to seep into the soul, eating away at the mind and going deep into the bone marrow. Heart-eating soul-charming pill, Ma Wu shouted in shock. He just remembered an important question at this moment. He is a 6th grade alchemist himself, how could he not notice something strange in the medicine bowl? Not only did he not notice it, but he drank it directly. This only proves. The elixir that Zhang Chen tricked him into taking was a poisonous elixir that was above level 6 and extremely concealable. And the heart-eating soul-charming pill is the 7th grade. Ma Wu panicked. A few moments ago, he was still thinking about using the heart-eating soul-charming pill to expose Zhang Chen's true face. Unexpectedly, at this moment, he had already taken it himself. As an alchemist, he naturally knows the medicinal properties of the heart-eating soul-charming pill. If you are not careful, your honor and integrity will be lost, and you will be killed. Turning his head suddenly and looking at his young apprentice, Ma Wu shouted angrily, "How dare you collude with Zhang Chen and poison the master? The crime is unforgivable." "Master, please spare your life," the young apprentice begged again. "Zhang Chen threatened the lives of my relatives outside the clan, and I had no choice but to comply. The Fengling Zhang family is too strong, and the apprentice cannot fight. As timid as a mouse, he acts as a harbinger of a tiger. Zhang Chen is ruthless and inhumane. Do you think he will let you go after this incident? How can he hide his despicable behavior while you are here?" Ma Wu roared again. "My disciple is not stupid, so he naturally knows this. But this will only kill the disciple, but it can save the lives of his family members," the young disciple replied. Ma Wu closed his eyes and spoke for a moment. Perhaps because he was willing to risk everything, the young apprentice stood up suddenly. There was no longer any fear on his face, but was replaced by hatred. Gritting teeth of hatred. Looking directly at Ma Wu, he said hysterically, "Master, you are noble. You are amazing. Even now, you are still scolding me. Okay. That's great. But have you ever thought about my situation? Do you know how I was bullied? Just because I am your disciple, the disciple of an elder like you who hates evil as much as he hates evil. Those disciples who were taught and insulted by you all came to bully me. I feel wronged. I didn't do anything. If you want to be the pioneer of the right path, then go ahead. Why do you have to hurt me? Why do you want to hurt my relatives? I can't stand it anymore. It's better to die, then no one will bully me anymore. I don't regret what happened today. You forced me to listen to so many great principles, but today I am going to be a bad person. A bad person who framed the master with his own hands and is unforgivable." You, Ma Wu was so angry that he was speechless. He vowed to fight the evil forever, but he didn't expect that the disciple he took in would actually kneel in front of the evil. So what if you are bullied? So what if you feel wronged? For the sake of righteousness, for the sake of the sect, one should have the consciousness to sacrifice one's life for righteousness, even to the point of dirtying one's own feathers. Today, I will clean up the mess. After a roar, Ma Wu jumped up from the bed, opened his left palm and slapped his apprentice on the forehead. Seeing this, the young apprentice closed his eyes in despair. This matter was indeed forced by Zhang Chen, but wasn't it also a resistance on his part? In fact, not long after he became Ma Wu's apprentice, he already knew he would be killed by his master sooner or later. That's why he was so scared when he heard that the entire Ma family was slaughtered. The expected pain did not come. The young apprentice was a little surprised and slowly opened his eyes. Ma Wu was still in front of him, but he seemed to have given up the idea of cleaning up the mess and was gently stroking his cheek with his only remaining left palm. The palm on the cheek was a little rough, but the young apprentice burst into tears. He regretted it. He really regretted it. He never thought that he would make such a big mistake, and his master would not only not do it. He also expressed forgiveness by stroking the cheek in this way. The young disciple's heart was torn, and guilt and self-blame filled his heart. A little later. Wow! The young disciple cried out, knelt down again and hugged Ma Wu's legs, howling. Master! Master treats me like this, how can I repay you? Disciple is wrong. It is because I did not see the good intentions of the master, and it is because I did not learn the integrity and nobility of the master. Disciple must turn over a new leaf and become a new person. Disciple must reflect on myself every day and swear to fight against evil. Master, I was wrong. Such sincere and heartfelt words moved the young disciple himself. But as soon as the voice fell, he. Ma Wu's weird laughter sounded. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 30. The head of the Julian sect, the headmaster's hall. In the huge hall, in addition to Xuanhuan and Lin Mubai, there were also 16 elders from the law enforcement hall, 32 disciples, and a middle-aged man in a green robe who looked intimidating without anger. The atmosphere in the hall was subtle, and everyone looked at each other. Pa! Lin Mubai glanced at the middle-aged man in a green robe on the high ground, and spat on the ground paved with jade. Everyone was dumbfounded. Headmaster, elders, this Lin Mubai is probably. Li Faja stepped out and bowed to the middle-aged man in a green robe deep in the hall, with a regretful expression. He must be crazy. Another elder of the law enforcement hall took over. As soon as these words fell, everyone started to discuss. What do you mean by response? This is clearly madness. A female emperor has fallen into madness, and has not yet shown any signs of improvement. Now another person with innate Dao bones has gone mad. Is it possible that the luck of my Julian sect has dissipated and a catastrophic disaster is about to happen? Maybe it's not the Julian sect's problem, but Zhifeng. You mean, that Zhifeng Zhangchen? Yes. All the mad people are Zhifeng, and they all want to kill Ma Wu. If it's a coincidence, I don't believe it. I said long ago that Zhang Chen is a scourge to the sect, but you guys are worried about the Fengling Zhang family. Now, he has actually poisoned 2 of the sect's geniuses. Master, this is a serious matter and must be investigated strictly. Yes, if we have evidence, even if the ancestor of the Fengling Zhang family comes forward, we must punish him severely. The topic went around, and it came to Zhang Chen. Without any evidence, based only on speculation, many elders of the law enforcement hall have been clamoring about how to severely punish Zhang Chen. Shut up, the middle-aged man in green robes shouted coldly. Hearing this, all the elders bowed their heads and dared not speak again. Junior sister, what do you think about this? The middle-aged man looked at Xuanhuan and said. Master, do you mean Mubai's madness? Or Zhang Chen's harm to his fellow disciples? Xuanhuan asked expressionlessly. The middle-aged man in green robes has not replied yet. You old guys actually gathered here and want to harm me? You are so brave. I will chop you off today. Lin Mubai suddenly became furious and rushed towards the nearest elder with a knife. But he just took a step. Xuanhuan frowned and knocked him out with a palm. The elders looked even more regretful when they saw this. Lin Mubai used to be so upright and noble, but now he has become like a pig killer, chopping people off at every turn. Who would believe it if they hadn't seen it with their own eyes? Ignoring the fallen Lin Mubai, the middle-aged man in green robe continued the previous topic. Junior sister, Lin Mubai's madness is a fact, and it's useless for us to worry about it. But the 9 Peaks geniuses have fallen into madness one after another, so this matter must be treated with caution. Brother, do you mean to hold Zhang Chen accountable for harming his fellow disciples? Xuanhuan narrowed her beautiful eyes. The middle-aged man didn't reply, but his eyes were full of meaning. Gu Changqing, Xuanhuan was furious, and immediately said in a cold voice, "You are the head of Julian sect, but you want to convict your disciples without any evidence. If you really dare to do this, do you believe that I will overturn your headpiece? How dare you?" Li Faju heard this and shouted angrily, "Master Zhifeng, you are traitorous." "Treason," Xiao Hongai sneered, "if Julian sect is really corrupt to this extent, then even if I really betray the sect, what can you do to me?" As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was silent. They really can't do anything to Xiao Hongai. In terms of cultivation, Xiao Hongai is just above the master of Zhifeng, but in terms of background, the entire Julian sect can be hers. Julian Patriarch, also the ancestor of the Xiao family. Among the 12 great elders of Julian sect, 6 are from the Xiao family. The most experienced and powerful great elder is Xiao Hongai's grandfather. It is no exaggeration to say, if Xiao Hongai hadn't thought the position of the head was too tiring, it wouldn't be Gu Changqing sitting on the head seat at this moment. After hearing what Xiao Hongai said, although Gu Changqing's expression remained calm, a hint of coldness clearly flashed across his deep eyes. "Haha, junior sister, don't be angry." Gu Changqing suddenly laughed and comforted, "Just now everyone just expressed their own opinions. Without evidence, no one will hold Zhang Chen responsible. Besides, although Zhang Chen has a bad character, he is 1 in a million in talent and can be considered a genius of the section." After this, the elders also expressed their opinions. "Yes, even if we look at the face of the Zhang family's ancestor, we will not do anything wrong. Although Zhang Chen's behavior is not right, he is a disciple of Julian sect, and we will treat him equally." "Master Xiaofeng, calm down. What we said just now was not well considered. Julian sect has been established for 1,000 years. Don't let this matter hurt the unity of the section. Actually, if you think about it carefully, even if Zhang Lianyu and Lin Muibai's madness is caused by external forces, then this matter is more like the method of the demon sect. A word awakens the dreamer. I think it must be the Wandao demon sect that is playing tricks." "That makes sense, that makes sense." Hearing this, Xiao Hongai's anger subsided a lot. In fact, she had no confidence in Zhang Chen, but as long as there was no evidence, she would always protect her apprentice to the end. "Hong Yi, are you acting out again?" Suddenly, a faint voice sounded. The moment the voice entered their ears, everyone only felt a breeze blowing, and an old man in a grey robe, with white hair and a crane-like face, appeared in the hall. The old man stood straight with a friendly expression. When they saw him, everyone, including Gu Changqing, was shocked, and then they bowed and shouted, "Hello, Grand Elder. You guys chat about your things, I'll come to see my granddaughter." The old man waved his hand casually. What kind of chat is this? Everyone was speechless. While they were chatting, the leader came. He was the biggest leader besides the Julian Patriarch. Who dared to chat anymore? Didn't they see that the head of the sect, Gu Changqing, had stood aside? "Grandpa!" A tender voice sounded, and Xiao Hongai greeted him with a joyful face. Holding the old man's arm, she said coquettishly, "Grandpa, I'm not being stubborn, I'm doing things according to the sect rules." In front of Zhang Chen and other disciples, Xiao Hongai always maintained the attitude of an elder. In front of Gu Changqing and other sect leaders, she behaved unusually strong. But at this moment, she has become a young girl with a beautiful smile. Raising his hand and knocking on her head, the old man said helplessly, "How can the leader of a peak clamor to betray the sect? Isn't this just a temper?" But Xiao Hongai defended herself. "No buts, The old man raised his hand to interrupt, his expression suddenly serious. Juyan sect has been established for 1,000 years, and the sect rules are not for show. If you don't distinguish the importance of things, I will find someone to marry you off. Hong Ai is wrong. Xiao Hong Ai lowered her head and immediately became cowardly. The old man nodded, looked at the others and said, I have personally investigated Zhang Lianyu's madness. It is not affected by external forces, but more like a great stimulation. What happened needs to be investigated. You are responsible for the sect, and you can't just assume the guilt of a disciple based on speculation. I accept your order. Everyone bowed again. Seeing this, Xiao Hong Ai smiled. Although the old man did not say it explicitly, this was also a disguised way of speaking for Zhang Chen. Grandpa, my second disciple has also fallen into madness. Is there any 9 abyss soul embryo, pointing to the still unconscious Lin Mubai, she said with expectation. In Xiao Hong Ai's opinion, although the 9 abyss soul embryo did not cure Zhang Lianyu's madness, it at least had some effect. Now Zhang Lianyu will not blow up the sect at the slightest disagreement. What she didn't know was, the reason why Zhang Lianyu didn't blow up the sect was only because Zhang Chen stopped her. In fact, the 9 abyss soul embryo really had no effect at all. Do you think it's a cabbage? The old man was speechless. The 9 abyss soul embryo appears once every 1,000 years. Last time I snatched it from a nightmare ghost. Although it appears once every 1,000 years, it doesn't mean that there is only one. Grandpa, you are so powerful, just help Hong Ai to grab 2 more. Shaking the old man's arm, Xiao Hong Ai acted like a spoiled child again. Why grab 2? The old man was surprised. Leave 1 for backup. Everyone was speechless. How to say it, it seems to make some sense. After all, there are only 2 crazy people, who knows if another one will go crazy. This thought just came to mind. Master. Elder Ma Wu Ma of Danfan, he is crazy, a loud shout came from outside.